Hello, I'm Tashiro, and I'm the author of a book titled Awkward: The Science of Why We're Socially Awkward and Why That's Awesome. I've been interested in social awkwardness as a research topic. My background is in psychology, but I've also been interested in social awkwardness because I've been an awkward person as well, and particularly as a young person, as a child, struggled with some of my awkward tendencies and was fortunate that I was able to find coping skills and mechanisms to compensate for some of my natural awkwardness. And I have to tell you that social life has ended up turning out better for me than I could have ever hoped and expected. One of the things I wanted to do in the Awkward book and in people I speak to is to share a few messages that I think are really important. One is that social awkwardness is okay. Being a socially awkward person doesn't make you a bad person. There's a lot of things that you can be in life that are probably not okay, but being socially awkward is all right. The second thing is that even though awkwardness is okay, it doesn't make you a bad person. It can certainly be inconvenient. And fortunately, there's insights that we can provide you about why people are awkward in certain situations, and also arm you with certain tips and tricks and techniques for how you can better navigate a lot of different social situations. The third theme I've been really interested in sharing with people is this curious association between social awkwardness and what developmental psychologists call striking talent or striking achievement. There's a strong correlation between giftedness and social awkwardness. And you can probably think about people you know who are extraordinarily gifted in some way, but also struggle sometimes in their social interactions or meeting social expectations. So I hope during this course I'll be able to share some of the insights and some of the wisdom I've been fortunate to pick up from research and experiences and other people along the way, and explain to you why it's okay to be awkward, give you some tricks for overcoming your awkwardness, and also show how you can embrace the unique aspects of yourself and move towards something that would be maybe even striking or extraordinary. One of the things I found fascinating was actually the root of the term awkward. It's afugur, which means facing a different direction. And I think that really captures nicely the awkward person's psychological experience. Awkward people see the social world in a very unique way, and it's different than the way non-awkward people see social situations. Partly explains why they miss social cues or might attend to things or have esoteric interests that are a bit unusual. So the idea that the awkward person is simply facing a different direction than everybody else is a really nice way to think about what it means to be socially awkward. Now, awkwardness also has some more literal kinds of definitions. You can have awkward moments, and whether you're an awkward person or not, you've certainly had some socially awkward moments. So one of the great things about the topic is that everybody can relate to social awkwardness because all of us have had awkward moments. Now, awkward moments are simply small deviations from minor social expectations. A lot of times when you have an awkward moment, when you take a step back from it, it wasn't that big of a deal in hindsight. But in the moment, it certainly felt embarrassing. You certainly felt like you were mortified by what you had done or uncomfortable in the situation. But one of the intriguing things about awkward moments is that as time passes, they tend to take on a humorous kind of quality. Some of our best stories are actually about some of our most awkward moments. Usually takes a few days or weeks or months before they become humorous to us. But when we look back in hindsight, we can see that it was just us being a little bit silly or just having one minor misstep. But the reaction we have in a moment certainly is powerful. Now, what does it mean to be a socially awkward person? It's a little bit different than just having awkward moments. While socially awkward people have more awkward moments, certainly, than non-awkward people, there is also a unique psychology that's interesting to understand about why more awkward moments occur. Part of it has to do with this unique perspective that awkward people have, but we can also see other research findings that explain some of the awkwardness. For example, socially awkward people tend to have difficulty communicating what they intend to other people in a way that's socially acceptable and socially graceful. But they also have difficulty sometimes understanding the meaning or the intent that people are trying to convey to them. There's a number of reasons why this might occur. If you think about the awkward person and how they might be awkward in what they say, there's a few things that can happen here. One of the findings is that socially awkward people have difficulty with prosody. Prosody is kind of the sing-song quality of speech. It's the up and down intonation that gives speech its melodic kind of flavor and conveys a lot of meaning to the person you're trying to communicate with. And prosody, these fluctuations in how we talk, actually communicates a lot of meaning or a lot of intent to other people. You might know somebody who's socially awkward who speaks in a bit of a monotone voice. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it doesn't make them a bad person, it can make it difficult for them to convey some of the emotional nuances in whatever it is that they're saying. Other awkward people might have difficulty with volume. Some awkward people will speak too softly, which creates difficulty in communication. But other awkward people speak too loudly, seemingly having very little volume modulation or volume control. One of the things that I like about these findings is that it shows a general principle about awkward people, which is that they have a hard time finding the middle ground, the kind of just right Goldilocks space where they should operate in a social interaction. In addition to some of these social skill difficulties and communication problems, socially awkward people also are defined by what we call obsessive interests. When awkward people love something, they really, really love it, and they are extra passionate about whatever their interest might be. Interestingly enough, they tend to gravitate towards things that are systematic in nature. They like things like puzzles or computer science, mathematics, chess. While not all awkward people gravitate to these kinds of things, it's well suited to the awkward mind, which is really good at seeing details, really good at taking those details and assembling them into a more meaningful whole. I also love obsessive interest. It's probably my favorite quality of awkward people because it gives them their uniqueness and it gives them this energy and passion for something that's unusual. One of the things that happened after my first book, which was actually about the science of choosing a great romantic partner, was what to choose as a topic for my second book. My agent had explained to me that I might want to go to a topic different than romantic relationships, just to keep myself broad and to keep myself from getting pigeonholed. So I thought for a few months about what it is I might want to tackle. Doing a book is a real effort, a real commitment, and so I wanted to choose something that I would be passionate about. At that time, I happened to have a lot of friends who had moved to new cities. And some of these friends were socially awkward. And I remember visiting 3 of these friends in their cities, and I've always found that to be a nice thing to do when someone's in a new location. And I had some time to spend with them socially. I remember going to parties or to bars or other places where they would interact with new people as they were eager to make new friends. And what I saw was kind of heartbreaking. Some of these awkward friends who were really intelligent, bright, interesting people of tremendous character and who had been great friends to me would really struggle in these social interactions. I would watch as the other person would lose interest or excuse themselves early from the conversation, never to return. And I thought it was really too bad. It was too bad for my friend who I felt bad for because they were having difficulty building relationships and building social capital. But I also felt bad for the other person. Someone had given up on the chance to build a relationship with somebody who was a great human being, and if they had been a little more patient in the interaction, would have discovered that this person is super interesting and could potentially be a great friend. I thought to myself in that moment, I bet socially awkward people would be okay if they could just skip the first 5 minutes of a social interaction. It was really a kind of lightning bolt thought for me because in my own life, I had oftentimes thought the same thing. The part of social life that I struggled with the most was kind of the small talk, the tiny social graces or social expectations that occur at the start of a social interaction, but that are really important for showing other people that you can engage in a way that's socially graceful and socially cooperative. I thought someone must have investigated this or done something with this idea, and so I went into the psychological research literature to see what I could find. What I found was there were a lot of studies that were really relevant to understanding socially awkward people. A lot of studies about social skill deficits or communication problems or obsessive interests, but no one had really put this together in one place. And I thought it would be of great value to take these insights, to take these research breakthroughs and deliver them to a broader audience and deliver them to maybe socially awkward people who were in need of some guidance and a little bit of insight. As I went beyond the research and started trying to craft some stories and examples to illustrate some of the findings about social awkwardness, I quickly learned that telling a story about somebody else being socially awkward can be perceived as me being mean. So the early stories were oftentimes focused on my own social awkwardness, on my own social faux pas. And as I did so, I opened my memory up to a part of me that I had somewhat forgotten in recent years. I went back and thought about my early years in elementary school and middle school, and just how socially awkward and uncomfortable I felt during those years. I felt some of the struggles and some of the times when I didn't know how to handle situations and when I came off in the wrong way or conveyed the wrong message. It was actually a bit of an emotional journey for me to go back and reflect upon some of these hard times that I had forgotten from long ago. I also connected with the idea that if I were the 10-year-old version of me or the 12-year-old version of me in middle school, struggling to decipher the social world, trying to figure out the appropriate social skills to navigate various situations, that I would have loved to have had some guidance about how to gain this kind of insight, not only for understanding situations, but also figuring out the appropriate things to do. I think the totality of it led to a really life-changing experience for me. And not only did I enjoy the intellectual aspects of understanding the research behind social awkwardness, but also came to new revelations about myself, and certainly a gratitude that social life has ended up turning out so well. So what I'd love to do in this course is share some of the things that have been so important in my journey, but from research studies also show important in general for socially awkward people developing the skills that they need to develop. What we'll do in this course is take a look at a wide variety of situations where social awkwardness can operate. In week 1, we'll take a look into what it means to be socially awkward and also start to take a perspective about how the awkward person sees the world differently than most people. By looking at neuroscience research and findings from cognitive psychology, we'll see the unique perspective that awkward people have and why that can sometimes lead to socially awkward moments, but other times lead to extraordinary achievement. In the second week, we'll take a look at some of the specific social skills that are important for awkward people to know. There's actually some really detailed information from research that I found really useful. For example, in the United States, with a close friend, how close should you stand to the person? How much personal space should you give? If you're in the US, it's about an arm's length, or about 18 inches, 47 centimeters. How much eye contact should you maintain with somebody else, and for how long? There's research about all of these different skills, and I'll share with you some of these specific tactics for how you can think in targeted ways about how to behave in a variety of social situations. In the middle of the course, we'll take a look at some of the research on communication skills and how to become a great conversationalist. We'll also delve into some of the obsessive interests that awkward people have and why that's such a wonderful kind of thing. At the tail end of the course, we'll look at ongoing relationships and when we try to form more meaningful, lasting relationships. We'll explore the important components of friendship and also some of the awkward moments that can occur in romantic relationships and how to overcome those. My hope is that across these 5 weeks, you'll get some specific techniques and some specific advice about how to navigate socially awkward situations. But I also hope you'll gain like a broader understanding, a theoretical understanding of why awkwardness occurs and how you can develop a broader philosophy about how to manage it. So whether you're a socially awkward person or someone who loves someone who's socially awkward, maybe a friend, a parent, or a partner of somebody who's socially awkward, I hope you'll join me for this course, where we'll take a look at some of the specific techniques and tricks that you can use to better navigate social situations.